Ladies and gentlemen, I have another heavyweight from the kettlebell world with us now at the Kettle Nights podcast. His name is Arseny Zhernakov. He's an honored master of sport of Russia in kettlebell sport and a multiple world and national champion in the long cycle. He provides international certifications in kettlebell sport and also designs and produces professional equipment for kettlebell sports such as belts, counters, and so on. I'm very happy to have a legend like Arseny on the podcast. So Arseny, welcome to the podcast.
Nice to see every friend in kettlebell sport around the world. Yes, I'm Arseny Zhernakov, and soon, in 2 years, it will be 30 years as I'm involved in kettlebell sport training.
Wow.
30 years.
Wow. So yeah, we talked before, right? You're not only a heavyweight in the game, you're a world champion, you're a national champion, you're a master of sport, but you also have a lot of skin in the game. I mean, with 30 years, you have a lot of history, I assume. So
Yes.
the first thing that we want to really cover is how you got into kettlebells, how it all started, and how you ventured from being a normal person to becoming an abnormal person, a master of sport in kettlebell sport with the long cycle and everything. So give us everything you got. So give us your story.
Yes. I entered in kettlebell sport when I was 19. I had a very good sport background before. It was swimming and it was a long time track and field athletics. So I was very, very fit. And I entered Naval Academy. And kettlebell sport, gilevой sport, is now, so far, one of the most important elements of military routine and military training. In Russia, in Ukraine, in Kazakhstan, especially in Russia. So I had no choice to start to train kettlebell sport. And I loved kettlebell sport, fall in love in kettlebell sport. And we had a very progressive table of sport ranks, which are very, very honorable in Russia. These ranks people in the world use right now in kettlebell sport too. Rank number 1, 2, 3, candidate in Master of Sport, Master of Sport, Master of Sport of International Class, and Honored Master of Sport. So it's very obvious. The same we have for Karate, Taekwondo. They also
just like
have
belts.
Yes.
Exactly.
They have dance and so on. It was natural to adopt a ranking system from a nation which has presented kettlebells to the world from Russia. It's national sport. It's a part of our culture. It's really big thing, and it's really big sport in Russia. And every year it becomes bigger and bigger, and I'm sure that we are bigger than powerlifting now, arm wrestling, and Olympic weightlifting. Kettlebell sport is really growing now in Russian Federation. There are many sports schools. There are many positions for professional coaches in state sports schools. There are positions in sport universities to get qualification of as magister or baccalaureate in sports science and kettlebell sport and so on and so on.
Wow. So there's even right now a scientific path that people can take in Russia when it comes to education that pertains to kettlebells.
Yes, they can learn specifically kettlebells, and there are sports schools. When I started my kettlebell routine, kettlebell life, most of us were cadets of naval and military academies. It was military applied sport, and most of us were cadets. But now, situation is completely different. Most of champions and most of people who compete, they are very young. They started their kettlebell story very young, in 10, 11, or even in 12 years, and in 17 or 18 or 19, they reach very high results. The same
Yeah.
like in swimming, in track and field.
They
So
start young.
kettlebell sport, yes, has become more professional, more spread. Well, and ranking system in Russia every 4 years gets harder, and harder. So if before it was possible to get high rank being just fit and healthy, but now you need to start to lift kettlebells being young, a kid, to start visiting sports school. Unfortunately, I cannot tell the same about the West, kettlebells in the West. Most of people who compete now in kettlebell sport, I know they may be the same 10 years, the same persons, the same faces of friends around the world.
Yeah, it's always the same people.
Friends.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
It's a small
but
world.
in Russia, it's a big professional sport, and rotation of faces is very fast because people start, for example, in 12, in 2022, they are master of sport in international class, and now they finish education in university and they start their adult life, leaving the kettlebells behind. But in the West, it's another story. People come into the kettlebells mostly when they have a health problem.
Yeah.
They use it not as sport, but they come to sport starting with kettlebell fitness to fix health issues.
Exactly.
It's completely different path. So we come to sport and in Russia, and then we come to kettlebell fitness. And people in the West, they come kettlebell fitness to be fit and healthy, and then they
discover
start
the sport.
compete. Yes, they start to compete. Kettlebell sport is unique sport, and I never forget and never stop to tell it. As you know, it's the most intensive modern sport. Most intensive modern sport, and this approved by everyone. Training with kettlebells, competing in competitive style, completely changes your mind, your body. It makes it has effect on everything, on your mind, on your cardiovascular system, on your nervous system, on endocrinology. When you train kettlebell sport, when you compete, in the end you become absolutely different person.
Wow.
But yes.
What's interesting is Valery Fedorenko says exactly the same thing. It's like it makes you a different human being. And I think what I have realized is I haven't competed because that's not my primary interest. My primary interest is mastering the lifts because I have a huge passion for kettlebells and especially the ballistic lifts. So what happens is, and that's just my experience, is when you master a 10-minute set with a 20 or 24 kg in my place now, it's so fascinating what happens because your body is continuously telling you that something's off a little bit. You have to put it down. Your arm is starting to, even if you have great technique. I don't know how it is with other people, but even if you have great technique, there comes a point where your body starts telling you or wants to tell you that, hey, put the weights down. and as you keep going, there is this kind of like trance state or this flow state where you reach a certain part of this 10-minute set where you work like a robot. So you completely blur out all the information that's coming from your brain and your body telling you and you just keep this game face and keep moving. And once you master the 10-minute set, it's something very special. That's what I've realized as well. And that's probably something that you've alluded to, saying that it makes you a different human being, which is so fascinating. It sounds so crazy, but there's a lot to it.
Well, it's a positive thing, but from other side, it's also negative.
Yes.
You know, one of the most important drivers of humankind is laziness. People are lazy. People do enormous number of phenomenal things that to do nothing but to reach everything by pushing one button, for example. And kettlebell sport comes into contradictory with all this paradigm of modern life. For example, this is paradox and very important things. Look, people have changed whole the world significantly, dramatically, absolutely. But we didn't change ourselves. We are still the same Homo sapiens, primitive Homo sapiens, who live very short life, and our life is full of hundreds of diseases. We starting from maybe from the childhood, we always have diseases. So we have changed everything around the world, but we are still the same primitive Homo sapiens. But people think that if there is a device that you can push the button and it will, for example, ruin a planet by nuclear explosion, but you still have to train your imperfect body. And people don't understand that there is no such magic button that will change your body, that you must train hard. And it doesn't come into people's mind. They're still waiting for magic pill, magic sequence of 3-4 exercises. For example, any fitness guru tells, I know a magic sequence of exercises or magic triggers that you will do nothing, but we only do the simple things, and it will change your body and your mind. This is problem.
But I love this. It's we have advanced so much when it comes to technology and all the aspects. We've changed. We've literally changed the world, and especially in the last 50 years, right? How far human beings have advanced, but we still have the same. Our body still works the exact same thousands and thousands of years ago. If you don't move it, you lose it. If you eat too much, you'll gain weight. And these are just basic principles of being a human being. And I love what you say. It's what, if you are in the fitness business, you encounter this so many times. It's people want the exact answer for what do I have to do to get this and this and that and that. And is there a shortcut? Is there a magic sequence? But at the end of the day, it's just movement. Move, train,
movement and pain,
yes, and pain, exactly. But this is, I think, what's if we take it even to a philosophical level, I think this is the beauty of it. We as human beings have advanced so much to make everything as pain-free as possible, but to advance our bodies, we still have to engage in that pain, right? And I think I love what you say. It's that we are kind of losing this. And then what I think is so funny is that we then start to ask questions and we look for answers all around the world, but we don't look for the answers inside of us. That it's like, hey, listen, if you probably train a little more, move a little more, walk a little more, eat a little less, engage in some type of training that really gives you a lot of bang for your buck, maybe then that pain goes away. Maybe you'll sleep a little better. Maybe you are able to combat this psychological stress that we engage in all the time, right? Yeah, it is the truth. And my question, Arseny, that I have, which because I always love to get into history and how it was back then. So my question is, why are we calling it in the first place kettlebell sport? Back in the day, when you were a cadet of the Navy, right? Did I get it right? You trained with kettlebells. So how was it called back then?
What do you mean?
Gira, right? Gira is the Russian word for the kettlebell.
Giravoy sport, yes, Giravoy sport. Giravoy sport. We call it right now also Giravoy sport. It's two similar words. kettlebell sport or giri sport.
Okay, so
and
that's
people who
all right.
who compete in kettlebells, they call each other girevik.
Girevik. Exactly.
Girevik.
So back then, when you started as a cadet, it wasn't advanced as it is now, right? It was different back then. Or was it still? It was snatch and jerk. Let's go, guys. Snatch and jerk and long cycle or whatever have you.
Okay. The worst thing, we didn't have Ural kettlebells there, and recent and new type of kettlebells. I recently saw your kettlebells. Yes.
Yes,
Your new
exactly.
type. Well, unfortunately, we didn't have them. We had only old style,
Old style.
32, 24, and 16. And training was very hard and not efficient, right? Like right now, because professionals who train now and everyone who trains here, they have kettlebells with gap 2 kilograms.
Yeah,
So
with the
10,
2 kilogram
12,
increments.
and so it's very important. It's because it widens your trainer's possibilities to make good and efficient program. We had only 16, 24, and 32.
Which is hardcore.
Competitions were only with 32 kilograms.
What?
I never remember competition with 16.
My
People went to competitions and lifted 0, 1, 3. I remember my first competitions was like 5 repetitions in long cycle.
Wow. With double
5
32s, right?
Yes, the 32.
Wow.
The 32. And which we competed only with 32 kilograms.
My God.
There was no girls. There was no female lifters. Yes, and also maybe you don't know. I think I have made huge input into development of female kettlebell sport. It was maybe 10 years ago. I had very strong and dedicated female students, and we made a decision to show everyone in kettlebell world that female lifters can lift with perfect style, 10 minutes, 2 kettlebells, and
Most
it looks
definitely.
perfect, smooth. And we urgently need to involve female lifters into kettlebell world. And I'm very happy that this quest, this crusade, I call it crusade.
Crusade, I love it.
Yes, succeeded. One of the most strong opponents to including of female 2 arms into giri sport was surprisingly Russian Federation.
Wow.
So 2 kettlebells for female lifters and equality in giri sport for male and female lifters came from the West to Russia. And only maybe 5 years ago or 6, Russia approved this our crusade. And I was very, very proud that our ideas have realized in ranking system. Because in Russia, we have official ranking system. This system comes from Ministry of Sport. It's very important. Yes, it's from Ministry of Sport. They stamp these ranks, and you have to follow. Every 4 years, you may have changes. So
it's fascinating, and Svetlana shared Svetlana Daniliuk. For those who aren't familiar with her, she was on a podcast as well, and she's a female heavyweight in the kettlebell world. She was here in the gym with us. We had a great session. She's awesome. She mentioned that there was this kind of idea that females were only allowed to snatch first, right? And then and doubles weren't allowed, and even a couple of years earlier, females weren't allowed at all at the competitions, right?
Yes. It was so stupid, and there were so ridiculous reasons not to allow them to compete.
Yeah, she shared. So she shared. If I remember correctly, it's because it's dangerous for women or something like this, or that it hurts them or whatever. And
some organs
some organs are going to take damage. And the funny thing is these kind of regulations came from men, which is so funny. I told Svetlana I would understand if a woman speaks up and says, listen, based upon the experience with all the female lifters, we know that this type of exercise will harm your whatever have you, your organs, your breast tissue, or whatever. Then I would understand if it comes from a female part where you have a lot of experience. But guys just saying, hey, no, this is not because it's dangerous for women or whatever. This kind of funny that, and I think it's awesome that you guys changed it, right? You went in and said, hey, let's change this.
I think looking back into my input for international giveaway sport, besides of creating specific specialized equipment for kettlebell sport, we need to speak about it later here. I really highly value my input into development of female kettlebell sport. I'm really proud that that I have put so many efforts 10 years ago, and now it looks like it's natural. But 10 years ago, it wasn't natural.
This is
And
interesting.
I was one of the pioneers who pushed. And I'm very proud that I had friends in kettlebell world who supported me, and we all together have changed it. We should never forget about our input into equality into kettlebell sport.
Awesome.
If you know, I have very special project of my life. A great person. I'm very proud to be a part of your enormous input into female kettlebell sport and her records. It's Kimberly Fox. We started with her from zero, and we have reached almost everything. She is a living legend, and she still competes, and she still has very big targets in kettlebell sport, and she's a living example. I'm very proud, yes, that so many years we are together, and we still have a powder to surprise kettlebell world with heavy results.
And that's something that really interests me when we talk about Kimberly Fox. For those who are not familiar with her, I mean, she's a monster. She lifts double 24s as a woman, and if you, I know what double 24s feel like in the rack position, and it's hard to imagine that that a woman can manage to lift these beasts for 10 minutes straight.
Kimberly manages.
She's unique, huh? And that's my question. That's my question, Arseny. If we can take it down that path a little bit, since you have experience with female lifters, do you think that Kimberly is kind of like a genetic outlier, that she's gifted with being incredibly strong, or do you think any female can reach double 24s after getting a lot of work done and after getting some great coaching?
What about Kimberly? First, she's like me. She's military. We have very high discipline.
Okay,
she's active military. She's still in active duty
interesting.
in American Army. Yes, she's still in active duty. We have very high discipline. And Kimberly's life is so intense. I still don't understand how she finds a time to train. She can train 6-7 times per week. She does everything that is prescribed to do today with such passion. And secondly, she has very, very good a friend and satellite, her husband, Jake. Jake Fox is very important person if we are valuing and trying to understand input in her results. Jake Fox, thank you very much for being with us all these years. So Kimberly had a team. We had a team, and we have made this miracle. Kimberly made also she has a very good background from martial arts and powerlifting. She is very strong
Powerlifting.
herself.
Ah, wow. I mean, this is very important for anybody listening. I'm not trying to downplay her achievements. This is important. What I just want to get down to is I know how heavy 24s are, and from my experience, when women lift kettlebells, as soon as you cross the 16, 20 kg mark, it gets really intense for them. And so knowing that she kind of has a background in that regard, this sets her up for a great foundation in if I'm not mistaken, right? So she's has a powerlifting background. She's equipped with massive amounts of discipline, which is most definitely needed because of her army background, plus she has a great team. So a lot of great factors come into play to be able to achieve this kind of success that she had.
Well, Gregory, again, we said recently that people from the West come into kettlebell sport as for a fitness tool for rehab and recovery, and that's why some people may think that 24 kilograms are very heavy for them. Of course, if, for example, a female lifter is 40 plus years old, have any health issues, and we ask her to lift 24 kilograms, she may say that it's too heavy. It's too heavy and it doesn't make any sense. And we make a perspective for whole the kettlebell sport because this concrete female lifter doesn't have right now opportunity to lift heavy kettlebells. But as I said before, when people start to lift kettlebells in healthy early age, in youth, everything is very nice and easy. And all training procedures and training routines for young female lifters are very, very effective right now. Because we have very big experience here in Russia, and girls in 16, 17, they lift 24 kilograms with no any harm, with no any harm for body.
Wow.
As I said, then adult female lifter starts to go back to kettlebell sport with 24 kilograms, it may be heavy for her, but it shouldn't be a proof that it's heavy for every female lifter. You understand my idea?
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. And what is your? Do you have a basic outline where you're saying, listen, most, and even for guys? I mean, I love how you're saying, you know, if you're not in, it sounds like to me. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I love how you say like, hey, if you're not in Russia, maybe a 24 kg is heavy for you. And I'm thinking like, man, 24 kgs are heavy for me. So I love how you put it. But do you have a certain, like, let's say, Denis Vasilev once shared with me, he said, once you cross as a man from 24 kg onwards, these are professional weights. This is where stuff gets serious, right? And obviously we know for master of sport you have to work with a 32 kg, which is massively heavy. I can't imagine rocking two of these. And as for females, you think anybody or every female can achieve a 24, or do you think most center around 16, 20 and then they're good? Or do you think no, if you give me this person and she gets the proper programming, or let's even put gender aside, you give me this person and this person gets the proper programming, everybody will be able to achieve Master of Sport rank?
Master of Sport rank is different depending on country. In some countries where Master of Sport is not such huge like in Russian Federation, they can achieve. It will take from you, look, it happens so 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 interesting that in every sport, female ranks are usually easier than male ranks because less women go in for sport in every sport because they have maternity responsibilities and so on and so on. In some countries, it's forbidden for religious reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, in every sport, female ranks are easier to achieve than male ranks. If we speak about male 32 kilograms, not everyone can achieve. Not everyone can achieve, unfortunately. Not everyone. Master of sport of international class, this is very few number because it demands on really hard trainings, self-sacrificing, drugs, medicine, and so on and
Oh,
so
you
on.
mentioned drugs.
Drugs, yes, yes. Drugs, I mean, legal.
Oh, yo, what does that? What does that mean? Legal drugs? Oh, you got to start it right there. What does that mean?
No,
What
it's
does
not.
that
It's
mean?
not interesting right now. Yes, that's not interesting. Yes, I understood.
Okay, okay,
Well,
because funny. You know what's funny? You know what's funny? I don't want to interject now, but I have to mention this. I've heard people say, listen, you're not able to achieve a certain rank in with kettlebells with double 32s if you are clean, if you don't take anything, if you're not you're just 100% natural. What is your take on this?
Look, some people have a talent from a nature. They have a good cardiovascular system. They have good local.
Yeah.
They have. Remember, the main drug is age. For example, we are 40 plus, and if we were, for example, 20 years old, that age is the main drug. Look, negative locale, cardiovascular system, good ratio of torso, legs, and you got natural talent to be a kettlebell sport lifter. The same is in kettlebell, in any sport, not only in kettlebell. In this case, yes, you can easily make any rank without big number of heavy forbidden drugs. If you don't have nature talent, if you have some issues, if you are adult, and if you have no time, and so on, it will be very hard for you.
Interesting.
You have to look at this thing very honestly.
I love how Valery Fedorenko says the same with the body proportions, where he's like, listen, you have a short torso, long legs. Wow, you are predestined, because your rack position is like, it's easy. You don't even need no mobility. You just bring your arms together and the hips already there. Awesome. You have long, strong legs. Boom, you already got it. But if you don't have, I love how you said, if you don't have this, then we have to work on your fixation. You probably have to learn how to rest on top, because you're not good in resting on the rack, right? And that's fascinating. I love how...
I have solved the problem of resting in the rack by designing first in history kettlebell sport bells.
And we gotta talk about this. I love this.
Yes. Before.
Let's jump in this. Let's use this as a segue, because, like I mentioned in the beginning, you are, and we mentioned this before, you are a business heavy person. So you are you have an entrepreneurial mindset. I see you sell a timer on your page, and not only just a physical timer, but also an app that is able to count your reps, which is awesome. And then, of course, your belts and the shoes. So let's jump into this. I mean, some people sometimes misunderstand the usage of a belt. What is the idea of wearing a belt when you engage in a kettlebell competition?
I always love an analogy, historical analogy, with a pistol called Peacemaker, which has made all people equal. You remember? God has created people, and cult has made them equal.
Yeah, I get what I get what you're saying. Yes.
Yes, the same for kettlebell sport bells. If you are naturally talented, your elbows rest on your pelvis. But when you are not naturally talented, if you are a female lifter, if you have athletic torso, if you have this type of torso, and so on and so on, you must have a tool to rest in the rack position. And I have created this tool, and this made influence of nature talent not so big as before. I have made all kettlebell lifters more
Level.
equal.
Level playing field.
You know, or that only your trainings will make you a champion, not only your naturally born talent.
No advantage. So everybody's on this level playing field. Yeah.
Yes, and especially I am proud of creating specific female belt for kettlebell sport. This belt has opened doors to the kettlebell sport for many hundreds lifters, female lifters around the world, because female lifters have this type of torso. And regular belts, it always pops up when you do, for example,
it shifts up and down.
Up.
Yeah.
Yes, when you do a jerk, for example, the same. It stays like a circle on your pelvis, and it was not correct. I have designed a specific female belt that sits very precisely and more confident on your body, on female body, and female lifters have a capability to lift and train and to lift to reach very high results.
Fascinating.
Yes.
So to understand this correctly, a belt, and especially the one that you have created, is there to help a competitor, whether female or male, doesn't matter, to help a competitor rest the weights on the hips, so to speak, especially if you're not naturally gifted, where you have a long torso. The belt is there to aid you in the rest position, right? To support you.
Maybe 40% only. Another 60% is support of your back. So when you lean back in rack position, yes, thick wide belt gives you support, like a board. And when you do jerk, it helps you to lift the kettlebells. The first thing is to support your spine and work like a catapulta to help your spine to send the kettlebells forward. Up. Also, it prevents damage of your lower back. Very important. That look, when we lift Olympic weightlifting bar, we have an issue when we lean back.
Yes.
But in kettlebell sport,
you have to.
We have fatigue and then damage when we lean backwards. It's absolutely opposite. And the third thing is to support your elbows.
Interesting. Let's jump a little bit.
Kettlebell sport belt is not simple thing. It's not a simple thing. Kettlebell sport belt. There are many different ideas inside of this thing.
Wow.
The same for shoes.
Funny thing, because I thought these are just great looking, beautifully designed belts with a name on it, which look awesome, but I didn't know that there is so much design and structural ideas put into the belt to actually make it different from just a simple weightlifting belt that we all know. I didn't know this.
The lifting belt is simple. Its idea is only to stretch your waist. But kettlebell sport belt, this is engineeringly designed device.
Wow. Yeah. Engineering. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes. I am PhD in technical sciences.
I saw this too. So yes, I love this.
It helps.
You combine. I love this. You combine your initial background of education with your passion. This is fascinating. So my question, let's jump a little bit into the lower back, because we know when we jerk or do the long cycle, yes, we rest the weight on the pelvis, on the frame, on the skeleton, so to speak, right? But you mentioned that your belt also supports the lower back, right?
Yes.
And is this something that is necessary when we move up the weights, or is this because I've talked to many people in this regard, and they say if you engage in the proper technique, your lower back is always fine. So I didn't know that you actually say yes, but I still incorporate this idea of supporting the lower back with the belt. So is this necessary? Do we need to support the lower back once we move up to these heavy weights?
Okay. Those people who say if you have good style and you will never hurt your lower back, I think they go in for fitness kettlebells. I don't think that you said it from people who compete with 232 kilograms. Because weight always matters. Weight always matters. When you lift any easy things 2-3 times, of course, you can lift the Olympic weightlifting bar, kettlebells, nothing will happen to you. But when we speak about competitions, when we speak about big weights, it will never work. It will never work because this big weight will make big pressure on your lower back. It's a science. It's a physics. You have to support your lower back. You have to support.
And that, funny thing is, Arseny, many people critique this. They say, especially people who don't know the jerk or long cycle techniques, they say this rack position is a problem for your lower back, and it causes all kinds of trouble. And I'm always saying, listen, if you use proper technique, you kind of bypass the lower back a little bit. But I'm realizing as I'm lifting double 24s and also recently tried double 28s, there is most definitely a pressure going on in your lower back. So how is your take? If somebody says, oh, well, I don't even use the jerk at all because it's dangerous for the lower back. And what's your take? Do you say, well, it's only dangerous if you use heavier weights, or, what's your stance?
Actually, it's a surprise for me because it's first time I heard that jerk is dangerous for lower back. Well, we should invite those people to try Kettlebell Sport belt the first. Maybe it will give them relief from their pain. And also, you say honestly that 24 kilograms, you feel it absolutely different than 24. As I told before, that weight also matters.
Yeah, so weight matters. Yeah.
And 32 kilograms.
Yeah, that's massive.
They are so heavy for everyone, even for champions. They are called red devils. Red.
Yeah. How did you say that in Russian?
Oh, in Russian. Diablo.
It's the same. It's like in some of the languages that I know of. Yeah, Diablo. It's the same. Red devils. Wow. And so yeah, and because my realization is, listen, if you use double 32s, there is most definitely a risk of injury, as it is when you engage into high level competition. But what people sometimes miss is they think just a jerk in general with lighter weights is a problem for the back. And that's where I sometimes say, yeah, if you don't use the proper technique, and we talked about torso length, right? So if you have great mobility where you are able to reach your hips with your elbows and you're able to rest the weight on your hips, it's not much of a problem for the lower back, right?
Probably.
So you, because that's
Very different. It's all very different. It depends on person again. So we cannot do very wide conclusions. So we need to discuss every case. Every case is specific and special, and it's I don't think it's correct to make very wide conclusions.
Okay. So
Hearing only one person.
interesting. And it's interesting to hear this, because for me it's kind of like it's the first time I'm actually hearing a champion and a professional saying, listen, we don't know.
You have to use belt. You have to use a thick, hard belt, which will support your lower back. At the first.
So if I would ask you, Arseny, let's say like I'm a complete beginner, novice, and I'm saying, is the long cycle or is the jerk, can this pose a problem to my lower back? What would be your answer? And let's not talk about heavyweights, just in general.
In general, long cycle. I think long cycle, when you drop to kettlebells, you need to accumulate all this huge weight which drops down by your spine, legs, and so on. The problem is if you will accumulate it very actively, very deeply, trying to decrease pressure along your spine, you will never lift big numbers. You need literally to drop it, and it hits your spine. It hits your spine. That's why you have to be prepared to this. If you will try to make something following professional kettlebell sport style, it will be harmful. But if you will start with soft style, more deep, more slow, you will feel no any damage. If you will try to copy professionals,
this is when you watch when you watch these guys. Sometimes when I watch Markov or even Vasilev, or it's how they hammer these reps.
Impact in knees, lower back, everywhere. Knees especially, knee joint. So it's not the biggest problem. It's not the biggest lower back. It's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is knees, because during your kettlebell sport trainings, you will do several millions of these accumulations.
Like exactly.
Yes. So this is the main problem, not lower back.
Wow. And how many injuries have you had during your career when you were becoming master of sport?
Honored master of sport. Almost nothing. Never had. No.
I love this. I love this. We have this great conversation about injuries, and you're like, oh, to become a honored master of sport, I didn't feel anything. You guys are made of steel. This is crazy.
But now, look, I'm so stupid that I tried to come back to the kettlebell sport. Well, my first stupid idea this year was powerlifting. I wanted to prove myself that I'm not only endurance, but I'm also strong. Yes. And I started very aggressively to train powerlifting, and I have collected huge sum in 3 months, 500 kilograms in classic, without equipment. 500 kilograms in my weight category. In Russia, this is 74 kilograms IPF. This is candidate in master of sport in 3 months.
CMS, wow. And that's for people to understand clearly, right? That's the bench press, the deadlift, and the squat, right? Am I right?
Yes. Classic powerlifting.
Classic powerlifting.
But I feel myself so bad that I had to stop it and to return to the kettlebells, because your blood pressure goes up. You need always every day to eat aspirin every day, and so on. So your blood becomes more dense, viscosity goes up, your cholesterol goes up, everything goes up, and powerlifting it's huge self-sacrifice. Because I think people are not used to this tension. It kills you, especially in my age. I am 47.
Wow.
I was very
Yes. Yeah.
close to beat in 3 months local record. But I took a pause. I took a pause. Yes. Well, now
Awesome.
I'm kettlebell lifter again. I
Wow.
tried
Wow.
to come back to lift 32 kilograms, and now the biggest issue for me is knees, because when you start to lift 32 kilograms again, your knees start to inflame. They get swollen and they inflame, and it's very painful. So I need to do something that to avoid of this.
Wow.
This is my
But
personal problem, but no lower back.
fascinating. But in comparison, let's put. I think it's great that you brought this comparison with powerlifting. So, um, if I'm just paraphrasing what you now told me, years and years and years of kettlebell training, becoming master of sport, almost no injuries.
Master of sport. It's
Honored.
it's
Oh, excuse me.
yes.
Honored
It's
master of sport.
insulting. If you say master of sport to
Excuse
honest
me.
master of sport, it's insulting.
It's an insult. Excuse me.
Yes.
Honored master of sport, of course. So
Thank
please
you.
let's explain this for the listeners. What is the difference? What is the master of sport?
Master of sport, you have to lift any number, any number. For example, 50. Look, we are the only endurance sport who have weight categories. This is also a unique feature of the kettlebell sport. We are the
Yeah.
only, because endurance and weight losing of the weight, they are opposite. Because endurance means you put something in your stock and then you put it to the
Exactly.
distance. When you lose weight, you cut your stock. But kettlebell lifters, when they lose weight, they do something unbelievable, because they will compete in very hard endurance sport. This is also a unique feature of the kettlebell sport.
Yeah.
Don't forget it.
Yeah.
Well,
Fascinating.
so for example, you are 75 kilograms. You need to lift 50 kilograms in long cycle to 32. You're master of sport in a good level of competitions. For example, any national championship.
So I have to. I didn't catch this. So 30 double 32s, and how many reps?
50, for example. It
50.
depends on weight category.
It depends on the weight category. Exactly. Okay. And
Yes.
and now honored master of sport.
Look, next step will be master of sport of international class. It will be not 50, for example, but 68. 68 is very big gap.
Wow.
So you need to compete it in international level, and also you need that it will be drug test, selective drug test, random drug test at these competitions.
Oh wow.
Okay, yes. And honored master of sport, you need to achieve some number, for example, 5 or more victories at national championship and world championship. So you have consecutive wins on the highest level. Yes.
So honored master of sports means you have to be able to prove your level and your fitness and your performance, your championship a couple of times. You have to win a couple
Many
of
times.
times, right? Many times, so you can
Many
prove.
times, yes.
Okay, all right. So yeah, please excuse me for this insult that I.
you know the main competitions in kettlebell sport, the same like in badminton or table tennis. This is a Russian national championship, and in badminton and table tennis, this is a China national championship. So to win Russian national championship in kettlebell sport, it's almost impossible. So if you win the national championship, it automatically means that you will win world championship.
Most definitely, I mean, and that's what all the kettlebell lifters say. It's like, it's so funny when I talk to athletes and they're like, listen, we have the world, or let's say like Europe and American, and then we have the Russians. And you don't compete against the Russians. It's basically Europe versus United States. Who's the best? And then as soon as they compete against the Russians, it's like, oh, because you guys, I mean, you guys grow up with kettlebells, so it's a different ball game, and it's a national sport. It is part of your culture, so that's why. And when I even compare, when I watch, like I said, Markov, Denisov, or Vasilyev, it's the amount of precision, power, and it's just so incredible to watch. And it's also very fascinating to see, and the weights that these guys move. It's so
Kettlebell sport
fascinating.
is absolutely ready. I don't know, worth of to be in Olympic Games. It's unique sport. It doesn't copy any other sport. It has own deep philosophy. It has everything. The only thing we need is more countries, more and more countries. So it's not enough countries for us to fight for to being included in Olympic Games. You know, this is big problem for any sport who wants to become an Olympic sport. Well, but
Let
we
me
don't
just
give up. We
and
don't
yeah,
give up.
most definitely. And let me just finish my thought that I had earlier because now it came back. What I think is so fascinating, years and years and years of kettlebell training to become honored master of sport, right? International. Compared to a couple of months training with in the powerlifting game was a for you, it's fascinating to see that years of kettlebell training did not cause any injuries, but the powerlifting aspect, you felt like, oof, I gotta take a step back from this, right? Because powerlifting really, it changes you on a different, or and I mean, it's fascinating. I always classify people into wolves and bears. I think I consider myself a wolf. I'm a lightweight, agile dude. And then you have bears, big guys, right, who are able to lift massive amounts of weights. And do you think that some people gravitate towards kettlebells because they are made for it, right? For example, like me, I can't explain it. I don't know what fascinates me so much about the kettlebell. I use it for all types of training. But for example, the jerk, I always love to do the jerk. And I've worked on my technique so hard, and I'm so fascinated with the exercise. But for example, if you take a bear, a bigger person, even though Denisov is a heavy guy, a heavyweight, right, who's lifting massive amounts of weights. But in the kettlebell world, which I think is so fascinating, is you see a lot of lightweight dudes lift 32s on the regular. So kettlebells, do you think they're kind of made for a certain type of people?
My answer will be a little wider. People itself, human beings, are very multifaceted, multi-sided persons. For that, that's why for every single facet or side of people, there is a sport. Some people like gymnastics, yes, flexibility, dexterity, and so on. Some people have very good eyes; they aim very exactly. Some people want to be very strong; they go in for explosive power, like Olympic weightlifter. Some people do cycling, some people do dancing. There are hundreds and hundreds of sport for every single part of human being talent. You need to find this talent. And I'm sure that every person has several talents. For example, you can be good in archery, for example, and in kettlebell sport, and you are smart, you can do good chess play, and like this. It doesn't mean that you have a strict destination in your life to do only one sport. Try several sports, but I'm sure, and I can swear that kettlebell sport one of the most beautiful, one of the most healthy, one of the most good sport for mind, body, for friendship, for kettlebell society around the world. Of course, I vote for kettlebell sport. Of course, I vote for kettlebell sport. This is my passion. That's why I'm here. For 30 years, and I'm sure I will stay with kettlebell sport for the rest of my life.
And that short bout when you tried powerlifting, do you think that this is kind of like how you explained? You realized, okay, maybe this is not made for me, or do you think it's age related? Or
after kettlebell sport, every sport is easy. After kettlebell sport, look, we have super champions like Ivan Denisov, for example, and Sergei Rachinsky, legends of the kettlebell sport. Sergei Rachinsky, he runs, for example, 10 or 15 ski marathons, 50 kilometers per season. And he says, it's so easy after kettlebells. It's so easy. This kettlebell, this ski marathon, it's nothing. Ivan Denisov also runs very good, this 50 kilometers cross-country ski, no any problem.
Which is
After
intense.
kettlebell-
Cross-country skiing is intense.
Yes,
I mean,
after
yeah.
kettlebell sport, you can do everything. Everything is easy.
And you know what you're saying it with different words, but you're now again confirming what so many people have told me, and that is the skill transfer. When you start moving and working with kettlebells, you touch so many bases of human performance that the skill transfer into other sports is so massive, right?
Oh, no, yes, some skills have some mutual points of crossing. Yes, of course, I agree. But the first of all is your super stamina.
Yeah, super stamina.
The
Well, I
same
like this.
at the best CrossFit lifters, CrossFit champion, the best stamina, strong mind,
Yeah.
yes, and
Yeah.
endurance and cardiovascular system. This is the basics things that succeed to be good in any other sports.
One quick question that I think I've asked Valery Fedorenko the same question. How much do you think kettlebell sport, and let's take them all together, snatch, jerk, long cycle, percentage-wise, how much is power or strength in that regard, and how much is endurance?
This is deep question, and I think there is no
Definite
precise
answer.
and exact answer right now. When you are novice lifter, kettlebells are very heavy for you. You feel it like it's a strength sport for you. When you try to raise your result, you face endurance issues and cardiovascular limitations. So there is no any exact answer. For different people, it's different. At the first stage, maybe it's a strength work. When you are top class athlete, it's easy for you, a single repetition. But when you try to make it 100 and 200 repetitions per 10 minutes, yes.
Oh, I love this answer. It's like depending on where you start, it may be that in the beginning it's a strength sport because they feel so heavy. But once you master them to a certain degree and you want to get more reps, it becomes an endurance issue, right?
So, at first, I need to say that because I'm here, maybe soon will be 30 years, like I'm in Kettlebell Sport. This podcast will have no time to tell everything I want to tell.
Most
we
definitely.
need to make a sequel, maybe after some period of time. Yes. So there are things we can discuss during this podcast. There are so many other important things. Unfortunately, we will have no time to discuss. And it's very good that our field to discuss is so huge, immense, and
most definitely.
About Pavel.
Wow, you're reading my mind. You're reading my mind. I was like, okay, let's finish the podcast with
Pavel Tsatsulin.
essay.
At first, I need to say that for some reasons, I will tell some very unexpected things. Pavel did everything vice versa to the kettlebell sport. Looks like he hated the classic Giriboy sport, and everything that you see in strong sport, strong first, they do opposite to kettlebell sport. I don't know why. It was he was a creator of strong first, strong sport. This is his right. He could do it. For example, we do lean backwards. Yes, they do it forward. We have rest. on a body. They do not do rest on a body.
Exactly.
We do using pendulum, Russian kettlebell pendulum. They use American strong sport pendulum, and so on and so. In every detail, they do opposite things to classic kettlebell гиревой sport. This is very interesting.
This is
But they
interesting.
use the same kettlebells. This is also interesting. Funny. Pavel, of course, made very big impact and input in making kettlebells as a tool popular in the West.
Mm-hmm.
This is very, very good for Pavel, and we really appreciate it, and he will be always remembered. People who started strong first and strong sport, they, in the end, they come to kettlebell sport to try something else.
Mm-hmm.
To try real endurance and real competitive sport, because strong sport, it's a physical activity. It's not sport. It's not sport. If you want a classic sport recognized by Olympic Committee, so we are recognized by some kettlebell sport international Olympic Committee structures like CAFISA and stuff like this. We are recognized. Well, people come to гиревой sport. This is my opinion about Pavel. I wish him commercial success, and I wish him to make people, more and more people in the world, healthy and strong using the kettlebells. Thank you, Pavel.
It's fascinating. I think what I have now seen from so many people, and of course everybody has an opinion about Pavel because he is so he's so popular in the kettlebell world. So everybody talks about him, which is he earned this right. And I think it's fascinating to see that what you're now saying is now that I'm thinking about how I consider hardstyle or just working using kettlebells the way Pavel introduced to the world, it's exactly opposite. Everything is opposite. And now that you're saying this, it does make sense, most definitely, that they use the kettlebell in a completely different way, which you can, of course. I mean, what I love about some aspects of this hardstyle idea, or I just like to call it high tension. I got this idea from Sean Mosen. He just says, listen, when you grab a kettlebell, you either do a high tension exercise, for example, a heavy press, or you do a high volume exercise, a snatch, for example. And I like this distinction way better than calling it styles. And I think there is value in doing a Turkish get-up with a kettlebell. I think there's value in doing squats with a kettlebell. It opens up the kettlebell to more fitness-related aspects, which is fascinating, which helps especially beginners get a hold of kettlebells. It's fascinating and great to see. Yet, I sometimes struggle to see a true difference. And funny thing is, I had a conversation with a hardstyle practitioner just a couple of days ago, and I was just asking, what is the difference? If, yes, technique-wise, you do it differently, but a snatch is a snatch. Yes, you do it, you have a different intent behind it. But the result, at the end, when it comes to the body, is the same. You have to work your endurance, you have to work your strength, your posterior chain is engaging, and yes, maybe your top fixation is different, your grip is different, I do see it, but a direct result, as we had, and just to, and I'd like to get your take on it, just to make my mind clear. If you tell me, Gregory, if you do 5 sets of, one set, 5 reps, 120 kilogram deadlift, then I'm asking you, well, what is the result? What am I getting out of this? Then you tell me, strength. This is not muscle building. This is not endurance. This is raw strength. I get it. The next day you tell me, Gregory, now you do 100 snatches with a 20 kg. I'm asking you, Arseny, what's the goal behind it? You tell me, now we do some strength endurance. I get it. But when we compare hardstyle or the high tension, this idea from Pavel with Kettlebell Sport, I don't see that you get anything else out of it. It's the same weight, the same kettlebell. We use a kettlebell, and you get what I'm saying? Sometimes I have a hard time putting into words, but a snatch is a snatch at the end of the day.
Well, I always joke on strong style that in Giriboy sport, our style is to consume as less power as possible. In
Exactly.
strong sport, yes, they consume as more
As
power
much
as
power.
possible. Yes, this is another contradiction. Their style is just to kill you as fast as possible.
Do you
I
think?
think
Do,
look, Gregory, I think they one moment they have come into the any dead end, and they didn't find any exit from this. And they stand here, and they try to prove something, but it's very hard for them to make a turn to
yeah,
any other new
yeah.
idea.
I see what what you're
It's
saying.
my personal opinion
Yeah.
because it comes from it's commercial product of a concrete person. This is his commandment. He's like Jesus
Exactly.
Christ. He told, I
Exactly.
teach you do this.
Exactly.
This is my
Exactly.
commercial product, and you must follow my rules because I am owner of this.
Exactly.
Follow my rules. So people try to follow rules, and there is no exit because you follow rules which have no any proof, any idea.
And with your experience, let me ask you this question, and then we can wrap this up. Do you think there is a value behind? You said the idea is to kill you as fast as possible, but let's just assume they swing. Let's use a 48 kg kettlebell, right? 48 kilograms, fairly heavy, and I swing it with as much power as possible. No conservation of energy, just raw power. Do you think, from your experience and from what you have been exposed to, do you think that there is value and there is some kind of result that you're getting out of this idea compared to somebody who just swings the 48 normally?
It's the same as our previous discussion about percentage of raw power and endurance. The same. So probably I saw they try to swing 90 kilograms
Yes.
and stuff like this.
Do you think this makes sense, swinging a 90 kilogram kettlebell?
I don't think I can be a judge. So if they say
Okay.
works for them, this is a part of their society, they will do it. Look, it's very dangerous thing to give any conclusion or any advice about everything. Being torn from subject. It has to be analyzed from all the sides. That's why I think I don't have opinion right now. If it's safe, yes. If it makes them to get any distinguished level among of their society, yes. Why? But if you will, for example, take Markov, he will beat easily any the strongest strong first lifter. He will be.
He's a beast. He's a monster.
It's not only Markov. Markov is heavy, but if you even take a middleweight lifter, kettlebell lifter, you think they are weak? They are not weak. Kettlebell lifters, kettlebell sport lifters, Giriviks, they are
monsters.
Not
this is
they are
incredible.
monsters because it's strength, endurance, and they know how to use their joints. Your joints, your body is your assistant. The first, I'm not telling any bad word about strong first. I really respect them because it's different.
It's
Look,
different.
they use kettlebells.
Yes,
they use
which is
something that's also called kettlebell, black kettlebell, iron cast. Yes, that's why people think this is kettlebell sport. This is not kettlebell sport. Kettlebell sport have another rules, another principles, another kettlebells. But somehow this iron piece called kettlebell because it has handle. Despite people think that it's the same, but it's not the same. It's absolutely different.
And you know what's so funny, and that's very important for anybody who's listening. And why I'm asking these questions is just because I want to get to the bottom of the truth. I'm a truth seeker. I don't care about styles. I don't care about being emotionally attached to a jerk or a snatch or whatever. I want to get to the bottom of it so that when somebody can give me an answer, I say, oh, this makes sense. This is my only goal while I'm asking these questions. And so sometimes where I get it confused is, for example, and I think this is unique to the kettlebell world. If you have, let's just use Olympic lifting. I recently watched a few videos of Lu Xiaoyan, the Chinese lifter. I think he has the world record in the snatch or in the clean and jerk or whatever. So when they do the snatch, I mean, it's so beautiful to see how they move the bar up and then they flow under the bar, and the barbell is in the air, is kind of stuck. It's like it's holding there for a second. The guy jumps under it and then goes up. Fascinating. So the whole Olympic world, or just let's say like Olympic exercises, when it comes to the barbell, everybody agrees this is a snatch. You can do however you want to do it, but if you want to do it according to the standards, this is a snatch. Let's use a deadlift. Yes, you maybe have some different techniques, but a deadlift is a deadlift. A squat is a squat. But in the kettlebell world, we distinguish it. Well, this is a swing that is done differently, and this is a swing that is done differently. This is a jerk how we do it. This is a jerk how we do it. And that's a sad thing. I think that's just sad about kettlebells. It's still this gap, right? We do it like this and we do it like this, which I think is a little bit sad.
People are different. People are different.
Yeah.
Yes, and look, one repetition it's not the same as, for example, 100 repetitions.
Exactly.
Yes, unfortunately.
So, Arseny, on a final note, I love your website, 32kg.pro. I love this. So everybody who's listening, if you want to get any sorts of material, certification, the timer, and please check out Arseny's stuff. I mean, like you've heard now, he's a heavyweight in the game. But if you want to follow him on Instagram, right, it's Lab of Champions, right? That's the Instagram handle. And the website is 32kg.pro. I love this.
Thank you for hosting me in your podcast. Yes, we have so many things to discuss.
Most definitely.
Yes, thank you for making this possible.
If you're looking for kettlebell courses that can help you lose weight, build muscle, and improve your kettlebell technique, then check out the Leberstock Academy. Let us help you discover a new perspective on kettlebell training, making it simple and easy for you to understand. Join the waiting list of your desired course now and secure your spot when it's open for enrollment. Link is in the description.